We're ready, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We are resuming the docket. We're streaming live on the YouTube channel, and the court is calling Clifford Reed, case number U 76297-311. Clifford Tobias Reed. The charge is remaining in the park after dark. This is the date and time for arraignment on the bench warrant. Also for Mr. Reed, 134-518-401. No operator's license on person, and this is also the date and time for arraignment on the bench warrant in that matter. Mr. Reed, if you're in the virtual courtroom, please say your name for the record.
Clifford Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. The court is also calling case number SP 120-31471, Shane Colby Dawkins. This is a firearms ordinance violation, and this is the date and time for pretrial. If Mr. Shane Dawkins is in the virtual courtroom, please say your name for the record.
My name is Shane Dawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Dawkins. And case number SP 122-40031, Robin Lynn Russell, allowing an unlicensed driver to drive. This is the date and time for pretrial in that matter. Count 2 of the same ticket is driving an unregistered or untitled vehicle, and count 3 is no insurance. Robin Lynn Russell, if you're in the virtual courtroom, please say your name for the record.
Robin Lynn Russell.
Thank you. Who's representing these persons, please?
Tillmander Wilkerson, Your Honor, on behalf of Mr. Reed, Mr. Dawkins, and Ms. Russell.
And how do you wish to proceed, Ms. Wilkerson?
Your Honor, all of my clients would like these matters set for trial.
All right, gentlemen and lady, we will we'll continue not guilty plea for each of you, or enter a not guilty plea for each of you. Now these matters, the arraignments are being scheduled for trial or pre-trial, Ms. Wilkerson.
So there was only one that was an arraignment, but yes, he wants to have his matter set for trial.
All right, then we'll set all matters for trial, bench trial dates. Is that correct? Everybody's waiving their right to a jury, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
No, I wanted a right to a jury.
Oh, Mr. Dawkins, you want a jury trial?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Dawkins, then you just wait 1 minute, sir. We'll deal with you after we schedule Mr. Reed and Ms. Russell. Mr. Reed, Ms. Russell, the court is giving you the bench trial date of June the 8th, 2022, and it will be a Zoom connection. So the same way you connected today, you will connect on June the 8th, and the court is giving each of you a personal bond. That means you won't have to pay any money, but you must return on June the 8th at 8:30 in the morning for your bench trial. Any questions, Mr. Reed or Ms. Russell?
No.
No, Your Honor.
All right, then you may both disconnect from the hearing. Now, Mr. Dawkins, the court has a very limited schedule for jury trials because of the pandemic. And Mr. Dawkins, will you be hiring your own attorney, sir?
No, I was trying to get a court appointed. I told the Honorable Ms. Garrett that I wanted to do an in-person trial and a trial by jury. She was setting everything up, but with my whole work schedule, I just been completely discombobulated with getting the paperwork filled out.
Okay, now, Mr. Dawkins, if you're employed, sir, you may need to hire your own attorney for this matter. Where do you work?
Kenwalk Steel Co.
Well, sir, why is it that you think you can't afford to hire your own attorney? We only appointed counsel for indigent defendants for.
I literally just started working there. I've been only there for like 2.5 months.
Well, we may ask for some documentation regarding your income, Mr. Dawkins. If
Okay.
you do qualify for a court-appointed lawyer, you will still have to pay $100 for a trial. That is what the court requires at a minimum, unless you are unable to pay that amount as a result of your income. Otherwise, we're going to ask for at least $100. But Madam Clerk, what we have for a trial date is way in October. Jury trial date, is it in October? What's
Your
our?
Honor, we no longer have a jury trial date available. We have booked that one. So what we would have to do is schedule this for a final pretrial on the June 8th date to see when the next schedule comes out for the next jury trial.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Mr. Dawkins. Because of pandemics, sir, they're only scheduling one jury trial at a time. And the court had already used its date that this courtroom had been given, and it was way in October. Now we don't have that. So we're unable to give you a jury trial date. We will note that you've demanded a jury trial, but what we're going to have to schedule you for is a final pretrial on June the 8th. So you'll be scheduled for a final pretrial. You haven't waived your jury trial demand, but we just don't have a date to give you. So we'll continue a personal bond for you. But if you still want to continue with your jury demand, sir, we will have to wait for that date. And Mr. Dodd, there will have to be a question of fact for either a jury or a judge.
Ms.
Wilkerson, did you discuss that with Mr. Dawkins, that there needs to be?
I did, Your Honor. I believe he does have a question of fact from what he told me the circumstances of the case are.
Okay.
But we did have that discussion.
Okay, so Mr. Dawkins, we'll continue personal bond, and your final pretrial, sir, will be on June the 8th.
Okay.
And it will be Zoom. It will be a Zoom connection.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I came to the courthouse today. The paperwork didn't tell me that it was a Zoom meeting. It told me to go to courtroom 334. So I came.
Oh, so you're here in person?
I was. I literally just got back home. I was literally at the courtroom today in person.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
make sure you note that yourself, Mr. Dawkins, just in case your notice comes the same way. Make sure you just make a note for yourself that the next hearing date will be on Zoom.
Okay.
So the same way you connected on Zoom today, you'll connect on June the 8th.
Okay.
Honor.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dawkins was set for an in-person hearing today.
Oh, he was?
It was either he was set for an in-person. It was either requested by the judge or himself. I'm not sure which, but it was scheduled for in-person. And I think that might have been even for the paperwork issue. But we can set the next one for Zoom. That's not an issue.
Now, what paperwork? You mean his indigency?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
For the court appointed.
Oh, so he can complete the paperwork?
We've never received it. No, I've sent it to him, but I didn't receive the paperwork.
Yeah,
and we talked about that. And I understand, Mr. Dawkins. But I don't know if that was why it was set for in-person today or if it was because the judge requested it. I don't remember.
So do you have the paperwork, Mr. Dawkins?
I do. I have it. I have everything filled out. I don't even know how to submit it, to be honest.
Okay, the clerk can give you that information before you disconnect. So, Madam Clerk, do you want him to call on the telephone to get the information about how to submit the paperwork? Or can you give him that?
Yes. Mr. Dawkins, I'm going to send you a chat If you watch your device, my phone number is gonna pop up. If you could call me, and I'll give you my email.
Okay. Yep, I got it. You want me to click on it right now?
If you can give me a half hour.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else, Mr. Dawkins, you may disconnect.
Okay. I just
Thank
gotta
you,
write
sir.
this number down.
All right, and the court is calling Wilbert Dodd. Wilbert Dodd. Case number SP 12224-651. Wilbert Marvin Dodd. Mr. Dodd, the charge is no operator's license on person. This is the date and time for pretrial. Mr. Dodd, please say your full name for the record.
Wilbur Marvin Dodd.
Thank you. Who's representing Mr. Dodd?
Field Manager Wilkerson on behalf of Mr. Dodd, Your Honor. At this time, Mr. Dodd's matter is up for pretrial. We did receive an offer from the city attorney. Mr. Dodd would like to avail himself to that offer, which was a plea to a reduced charge of failed to display instead of the original charge.
Thank you. Mr. Dodd, you've heard the representation of your lawyer. Sir, are you in agreement with that representation?
Yes,
Mr. Dodd, were you advised of your right to a trial?
yes,
Sir, you understand that if you were to have a trial, it would normally take place inside the 36th District Court, but because of the pandemic, the courthouse is closed to the public. And so you have agreed to participate on the Zoom technology today. Is that correct?
yes,
Mr. Dodd, did you have an opportunity to speak to your attorney about all of your rights?
yes,
Sir, did anyone threaten you, force you, or promise you anything in exchange for your plea?
no,
Are you pleading guilty of your own free will?
yes,
Are you pleading guilty because you are in fact guilty?
yes,
And sir, do you understand that by pleading guilty, you will be waiving or giving up your right to a trial?
yes,
And knowing that you're giving up your right to a trial, you wish to go forward with guilty plea, is that correct?
yes,
Please raise your right hand and be sworn. Sir, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief?
yes,
Mr. Dodd, you may lower your hand, sir, on the date, the time, and the location indicated in the ticket ending in 24651. Were you driving a motor vehicle in the city of Detroit?
yes, I was.
Were you stopped by a police officer?
Yes, I was.
Did that officer ask you for a valid driver's license?
Yes, he did.
Were you able to produce a valid license for that officer?
No, I was not.
Ms. Wilkerson, are you satisfied with the factual basis?
Satisfied, Your Honor.
The court will accept the guilty plea, being satisfied with the factual basis. We will also accept the recommendation of the prosecutor to amend the charge to failure to display. That's a 0-point offense, sir, but the fine is $240, and there is a $45 mandatory reinstatement fee from the Secretary of State's office. So the total is $285. Mr. Dodd, do you need more than 30 days to pay?
Yes, ma'am.
How much time?
At least a month or two. Well, 2 months, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Okay, sir, we'll give you 60 days. And Mr. Dodd, this is an offense that could have you incarcerated for up to 90 days. So please do not drive until you get your driver's license reinstated.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Any questions, Mr. Dodd?
No, ma'am.
You know you can pay online, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, All right. If you have no questions, you may disconnect from the hearing. And Madam Clerk, Ms. Wilkerson, is there anyone else ready for the live stream? Do we have any other business for the court?
I believe we're done. Madam Clerk, we're done, right?
Yes, we are.